given that the new 15% tariff is a significant increase from previous rates, how will this impact the competitiveness of European businesses in the U.S. markets?
Well, as you mentioned, is not only the tariffs, it's the high energy cost that is really hurting the European economies. And this started with Ukraine war in 2022. And as we've seen recently in US, that the cost of energy is the biggest factor, is the biggest source of inflation, because on many occasions we were said that tariffs would create a large inflation in the United States, but because of lower energy costs, that has been compensated. So it just shows how energy is a big factor, and especially for a manufacturing country like Germany and other countries in Europe. But yet none of them are addressing this issue, how to have access to cheap energy.
So while German Chancellor Merz supported the deal, citing, of course, the advance of a broader trade conflict, what are the specific sectors in Germany and other EU countries that will be most burdened by these new tariffs?
Well, if you look at it, it's again, we go back to what is being produced. When the cost of production is much higher, it is much more difficult to compete. And also, there is the other cost is the higher government spending. And parts of it is because of higher military spending because of Ukraine war. Why I keep going back to the Ukraine war? Because unless it is resolved, it is very difficult for Europe to recover from this, as you mentioned in your reports, from slow economic growth. Yet they are determined to have this war going on. Because of this war, they've also lost access to Russian market. Russia was a great market for Europe, but they've lost that. And more importantly, it's a geopolitical miscalculation, because they are gifting China Russia's vast natural resources. So what I'm trying to say is Europe right now has no economic plan, and it has no geopolitical plan. That's why they have lost the trust of they have lost trust in other parts of the world.
Okay, so how might this framework deal with its ongoing negotiations create uncertainty for European companies planning long-term investments and supply chains?
U.S. is the biggest export market for Europe. They export something like $1 trillion to U.S. Now, at least they have some stability there, which is there's a ceiling of 15% tariff there. But then again, it is very easy for European manufacturers now to relocate to United States and then re-export back to Europe, because although there is a 15% import tariff to US, there is no import tariff from US to Europe. And then there is another issue which hardly anybody talks about is green energy policies. The green energy policies are a drain on the economies. They are, they've introduced high regulations, and regulations is just higher taxes. And by now we know a lot of presumption on this climate change is not accurate as they were before. So unless Europe has a shift in their policies, dramatic shift, they will stay at this low growth economy, which has kept them there since 2008, and they have not recovered from it.